Hey, welcome to Planetary Pennies, Astrology Overview and Look at the month ahead of October 2020. Before I start, some people have been telling me they're finding it difficult to find their particular sun sign, and they don't particularly want to read or listen to all the other sun signs, which I fully understand, unless of course you know your ascendant or your moon sign, and then you can also look at those for yourself. So my lovely tech guy Jerry has just given me a brief description so that I can explain to you how you find your particular sun sign. So if you look down here at the bottom of the video here, you should see a little arrow. I think at this point it's probably pointing upwards, but it has something written on it that says show more. Now what you have to do is you click on show more and a description box drops down, and then you will see like an index for all the signs. So you'll have, Leo, and it'll start with the overview for October plus Leo's astrology. So that way I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier for you to navigate around this channel. Okay, so with no further ado, and I really hope that helps to explain it, I will continue with October's overview. So we are now in Libra season. So, when the sun moves into Libra, it kind of focuses us much more on the relationship aspect of life. So that would be the relationship aspect of, for example, our one-to-one close friendships, our one-to-one intimate relationships with family, with more, our wider friend circle. I also think, because when I looked at the chart, and I'm going to go over that briefly in a minute, when I looked at the chart for October, there is actually a pretty strong emphasis, in spite of the sun being in Libra, there is an emphasis on relationships. And I think this is on a rather grander scale, because I think this is actually on an international scale. Relationships between countries, relationships within countries, between communities. My sense is, because we have Mars retrograde, and it will be for quite a while in Aries, and Mars is making this harsh, difficult aspect to the big boys, Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn, which is in the 7th house of this October chart that I've set up. And what that tells me is that I really feel governments and world leaders are going to really struggle with keeping people safe within the confines of lockdown, because I suspect there's going to be a real movement underneath, or underground if you like, of the masses, the populace, getting very frustrated with lockdown, getting very frustrated with the fact that they are being so damaged financially in their individual businesses. They are losing jobs, and so there is going to be, I think, a real surge towards this kind of unrest. And my sense is that as these planets, that is Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn, start to move forward again in Capricorn, because Pluto actually starts to move forward on it moves forward on the 4th of October. So we will then have these three big boys going direct in Capricorn. So that's Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter. Now remember, Jupiter expands, and Jupiter can expand negative stuff as well as positive stuff, because it's like Jupiter is kind of neutral. So what I want to say with this is that, Pluto is pushing us towards transforming the way we actually govern our planet. It's pushing countries to transform the way they administer their governmental duties. It's on such a broad scale. You see Saturn that is also direct now, because Saturn went direct at the end of September. You know, Saturn is about governments and order and law and restrictions and boundaries. And I really feel that there is going to be quite a tension throughout the month of October, because as we move towards the end of the year, when these planets, in a sense, meet up much more tightly, because Jupiter, and again, remember, it expands what it touches. That's great if you've got a winning lottery ticket. And maybe we'll get some of those this month, who knows? And let's hope I'll go and buy one. And it expands what's negative and what's dark as well. So, you know, we also have to remember that we're moving towards the US elections. And we've seen in other years how tense things get throughout the world as we observe what's happening on the United States stage in these kind of events that have to unfold. So what I'm saying on a more personal level is, be mindful of your close personal relationships. Be mindful of short tempers with each other. I notice, for example, on social media, one gets a lot of kind of attacking going on between people. You know, there's the pro-masks against the anti-masks. There's the pro-vaxxers against the anti-vaxxers. I mean, people, we've all got to try and live together in harmony. And at this point, does it matter on one level who's right and who's wrong? It's just that perhaps we have differences of opinion. And I think if we can respect each other's differences of opinion, as we all strive towards building a stronger future and somehow pulling together the dramatic change that this planet is kind of going through at the moment, if we go with that, because, you know, when you when a branch holds itself firm against the wind will snap it and break it. If it bends, then it can survive. And I think one of the underlying symbols for me about this month is that what we have to do is actually bend with that force of the wind. We've got to bend with the force of Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter moving towards their final kind of meeting in November, I think it is, when they finally all get together. The other thing I want to talk about before I move on to your individual signs is that we have a Mercury retrograde this month. Now, please don't fear Mercury retrograde. It can be a good thing, because it can give all of us, including the government, second chances to tweak things, to get things right this time. You know, as countries throughout the planet are beginning to see that they may have to enforce larger lockdowns again because of this kind of second wave that, I don't know whether the first wave ever went away, to be quite honest, but we have this kind of surge in virus cases. It feels like, hopefully, every single government throughout the world will use the vision of hindsight. I mean, we all know that 2020 is going to have that stigma on it forever of 2020 hindsight. And but you know, this Mercury retrograde is helping that. It's saying, look, we can see what we perhaps didn't get right last time. Let's try and actually get it right this time, because that way maybe we can save lives, we can save jobs, we can save businesses. So that's the positive of Mercury retrograde. The sort of the more downside of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury's going to be in Scorpio, and he goes then back into Libra, and he doesn't go direct till November the 3rd. So we've got, from the 14th of October, we've got this Mercury retrograde period. Yes, we can expect delays in travel, but I think we know why, and I think we're all more aware that if we are booking long distance travel or even short distance travel, it may be subject to change or cancellation. And I don't think we can just stop living our lives because of all these restrictions. I think we have to learn to adapt. And by adapting, I think respect everybody's own individual wishes within that. And respect each other, because this Libra emphasis on relationship, I do feel is super important for October. You know, this Mars square to Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter, you know, there's going to be a lot of kind of sparking off and fights and arguments, and it's just quite tricky. I just want to look at what Uranus is doing, because Uranus is retrograde, of course, in Taurus, and I do think because Taurus is all about money and investments, this retrograde Uranus is going to see a little bit more instability again in the financial world and the sort of the economic climate, which is not what any of us want to hear. But I think there's a lot of nervousness around because of, you know, the fact that we're coming into winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and we are going to go through quite a challenging time. Now, I have talked a lot about October in this overview, but I just feel it's important to get these points across. Your individual sun signs will probably not be quite as long, but they will hopefully have the more direct information that you require to navigate your way through October. So before you go on to that, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into my channel, watching my videos, and subscribing to my channel. If you've not subscribed, I'd be super happy if you could. That would be fantastic. And the likes and shares are hugely, hugely appreciated. And also, if you would like to book a personal one-to-one session with me for astrology or life coaching, or you'll probably find it's a combination of both, in fact, then my website address is in the description box underneath the video. I think it's also just written here in the bottom of the video. So that's all I want to say for now. And so until next month, enjoy your October horoscopes. Thank you. Hey Taurus, welcome to your October astrology for the Sun in Taurus or for the Ascendant in Taurus. And if you happen to know where your moon is and it's in Taurus, then why don't you listen to this one too? Okay, well, we start on the 1st of the month with a full moon in Aries, and this is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, and this is in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house is about our kind of inner world. It can also be a house where we can feel quite restricted. And I think for you, Taurus, sometimes it's not always easy to express yourself. And this full moon, I think, will see you being able to express yourself far more easily. Conjunct Chiron, I think, you know, wounds from the past, anything that has kind of affected you deeply, you will now start to see that how that can change you, how that can really bring you into a new way of thinking. So it's actually a really interesting full moon for you, this one. Also, we have to remember that Mars in Aries is squaring all my big boys in your 9th house of travel and higher learning. Now, Pluto this month also goes direct on the 4th. And this house for you has been quite difficult because you've had these boys here for a long time. That's Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter. Jupiter is going to come up and conjunct Pluto. Later on, it will reach Saturn. But Jupiter expands. Now, the 9th house is about, as I say, travel. It's also about higher learning. And I'm thinking of its connection with your 12th house because of the Mars harsh angle, the square to what's going on in your 9th house. And for me, this is something about Pluto moving direct is an opportunity to perhaps do further training in something which you are passionate about, that you will understand so much better now you've done some of the work that the 12th house has required of you. So I think these boys moving direct could be very beneficial for you. And I think it could see you at some point with this Pluto transformation in your 9th. I think you're going to be teaching. I think Jupiter coming up to these big boys in Capricorn is going to be saying, you've done the groundwork, you've learned all the lessons, you've done the training, if you like, and you can actually start teaching what you've learnt now. So that could be very interesting for you, Taurus. So let's move on to, oh yes, we have Mercury retrograde this month. Don't you just love that? But, you know, I do actually, because I always think it gives us a chance to slow down a bit, to reflect, to just have a look at where we might have overlooked things and just want to kind of perhaps, you know, revisit things and tweak them here and there. Now for you, this Mercury retrograde is actually happening in your 7th house in Scorpio. And so you might find that you actually hear from someone from the past, someone who, because the 7th house is about significant relationships. So I wonder if you're going to suddenly hear from someone you haven't heard from for some time. And I think that could be quite interesting for you. And maybe it takes you back into the past to kind of look at things from the past a bit. It's going to go back, Mercury, into your 6th house, Libra. And this is your house of health. And Mercury is going to be retrograde until the 3rd of November. Now, I think when Mercury gets back into your 6th house, it's just going to be about maybe routine health appointments that maybe have been sort of delayed, maybe because of the virus situation, that things have just been cancelled and delayed. I think that you will get a better idea of when these maybe doctor's appointments or hospital appointments are actually going to take place. So I also think it's a chance for you to just tweak your day-to-day work, just go back and find, is there a way I can actually refine things a bit better and get them to work a bit better? So Mercury retrograde can help you with that too. So then also in your 6th house of Libra, we've got a new moon, a lovely new moon on the 16th of October. And this also, I think, is going to bring a breath of fresh air, certainly into the way you work day to day and how you relate with work colleagues and either people that work above you or people that work under you, or if you're self-employed, perhaps you're just going to redefine how you work in a better way if you're sort of on your own. And I think that this new moon is also a good time, especially if there are health issues that you've kind of ignored a bit. Go and make those appointments now. It might be a trip to the dentist, anything like that. Go and do it. Go and do it, Taurus. Okay, then we have to come on to the 2nd full moon of the month in your sign, Taurus, and it's on the 31st on Halloween. How super cool is that? But will you be the scariest person at the Halloween party? Well, with Uranus conjunct this full moon in your 1st house, I think you're going to surprise a few people. Perhaps you'll win the apple bobbing competition, but maybe not. But in all seriousness, you know, Taurus, you are you're a very sound, grounded, fixed at times sign. A full moon in your sign brings to light, it sheds its lunar light on an area of your life that you've reached some kind of sense of completion with. And I think Uranus there means that not only are you going to surprise yourself a bit with actually how you've changed, because Uranus in Taurus, I think, has really been pushing you out of your kind of comfort zones. You've had to move a little bit out of your comfy chair, Taurus. And I think not only are you surprising yourself, but actually people out there in the big wide world are going to be quite surprised at how you are changing, Taurus. So, you know, that sounds super cool to me. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much, Taurus, for watching your October video with me. And if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super pleased if you could. You just click on the subscribe button, which is underneath the video. And also, if you would like to have a one-to-one with me for life coaching or astrology, it'll probably be a combination of both because that's what I tend to do. You can click on my website. Well, I don't think you actually click on that bit, but the website address is just there in the bottom part of this video. And till next month or till next time, thank you again, Taurus, and I really wish you a very blessed month. Thank you. Bye for now.